Today's the 23rd of February, and I'm going to start some bunching onion seeds. I have this 72 cell tray. I have this package of Ishikura bunching onions. They're a Japanese bunching onion, which are absolutely delicious. If you haven't ever tried them, check out Baker Creek Heirloom, which is rareseeds.com, and get some of these. And they can grow all summer long, and even if they get large, you can still eat them, and especially in salads and sautees and things. There's approximately 300 seeds in the package. This is a 72 cell tray, so that means I can multi-sow 3 seeds per cell. And I've already mixed up some seed starting mix. This is just simply compost and peat moss and some perlite added to it to loosen it, and I put in a handful of worm castings for fertilizer. And so we've got a project to get started here. And I'll put this camera on the tripod and get it focused, and then I'll get started. Okay, the first process is to get the cells filled up with potting soil. And that's a simple process of just spraying it on here and packing it down a little bit. You don't want it in there terribly tight because the roots can't grow through it, but want it firm enough that it stays packed when they take the onions out to transplant them. One of the nice things about this potting table I have here, if I spill a little of this soil on the table, it's easy to clean up and brush into the pot and start over again. It's important to have the seed starting mix firmly dampened all the way through, moistened. You don't want it soaking wet. If you squeeze a fistful of it, you should not get any water running out of it. But you do want it moist enough to where it'll hold itself as a ball when you squeeze it in your hand. Onions are a very good cold weather crop, so you can start them early in the year. Actually, several weeks before the last frost date, you can put the transplants out and they'll do just fine. I have in the past, several years in fact, put seeds in the fall in the garden, direct sowed them in the garden, raised bed garden, and let them grow through the winter. And they survive the winter, and next spring they're up and growing, and they're the earliest bunching onions that you can get. Okay, now I'm going to loosely pack the soil in each of these cells so that it's firm, but it's not tightly packed. And then when we get the onion seeds on here, I'll cover them with vermiculite, which doesn't form a crust like soils tend to do, and it allows the seedlings to come up much faster and get growing. It's easy when you pack these down. If some of them are not filled enough, just add a little more seed starter to it and pack it down. It's best when moistening the potting soil or seed starting mix for these projects that you do it several hours in advance and let it set so that it equally distributes the moisture throughout the pot of soil. Otherwise, you'll have some dry spots and you'll have some extra wet spots. But if you mix it up like I did this one earlier today, and you just let it set in this container, it will evenly distribute the moisture and fill the soil so that it's no dry spots in it at all. If you can hear that clanking noise, that is the vent on the exhaust fan, the shutters, with the wind blowing. We have about a 40-mile-an-hour wind today, and it's making some racket. So I hope it's not too distracting in the video. Okay, there's all the cells fairly well packed. And let me stop the video here and I'll get the seeds and we'll get them started here. Okay, I've got the table cleaned up and I've got the onion seeds here ready to put in. You can see there's a lot of them in this package, and I want to put about 3 of those per cell. If I get 4 in some cell and 2 in others, that's not a problem. Bunching onions can be what we call multi-sowed. You can have 4 or 5 of them together and they will grow just fine, and they won't crowd one another. They will develop beautiful onions. So I'm not too particular about planting them, except I want to make sure that I have at least 2 or 3, if possible, in each cell. This, as I said earlier, is a 72 cell tray. It fits in a standard 10-20 tray and has holes in the bottom so you can bottom water it, which is really nice for growing things like this because it keeps them from getting too wet on top and damping off. Onions are probably one of the easiest spring crops to grow. The only problem with onion seeds is that they will not keep over a year. If you have ones from last year and last spring and you try and plant them, it's very unlikely that they'll germinate. As you can see, I've been putting several of them per cell, and I still have quite a few left over, so I'm going through and adding a couple more to the cells just to make sure each cell has plenty of onion seeds in it. Don't want to miss any cells if possible. This compost that I'm using, I sifted through a 1/2 inch hardware cloth to make sure that I got all the big chunks out of it. There's still some that are maybe too large for seed starting, but they will do just fine. There, all the seeds are in the tray, and except one here that I dropped. Now I'm going to cover these with vermiculite. This is a medium vermiculite. A fine vermiculite works better, but I don't have any, so I'll use the medium. The vermiculite serves two purposes. One, it keeps the surface from drying out so the seeds stay moist. The second is it's much easier for the seeds to pop up through vermiculite than it is the soil. So the seeds are laying on the soil where it's nice and damp, but the vermiculite is on top of the seeds, covering the seeds. And when they germinate, they'll sprout right through the vermiculite much easier than they will through the soil. If you get vermiculite heavy in a couple places, that's not a concern because, like I say, it's very easy for seeds to come through it, and they'll sprout right through it. So if there's a pile of it somewhere that you didn't want, don't be concerned about it. They'll come right through it. They're all covered with vermiculite. Now the last step is to dampen the vermiculite. For that, I use a spray bottle of water and put it on the spray mode. It's important to get the entire covering of vermiculite wet so that it stays damp after the seeds are put on the heat mat and getting ready to germinate. So this spray bottle does an excellent job of getting it all damp without destroying it or blowing it off of the tray. But you want to give it a good coating to make sure it stays damp all the way through, no dry spots. Any excess moisture that you apply on this step will drain through the soil and into the 1020 tray below it. So you're not going to harm the seeds by getting them too wet at this step. Okay, that takes care of that step. And the final step is that I will put a humidity dome on top of it to keep the moisture in the tray. And these vents on this humidity dome will be open just 1/4 of the way so that it doesn't get saturated in there, but it does stay humid and stays moist. So now these are ready to put on the heat mat. So I'll move things around here and we'll get these on the heat mat, and then I'll show that step. Okay, the tray's now on the heat mat. It's a thermostatically controlled heat mat set to 75 degrees. The humidity dome is on it and set with just slight openings. So it'll be ready to germinate. And as soon as they germinate, I remove the heat mat and I remove the dome cover and let them start growing. So in a few days, we'll start seeing some onions in this tray. And I've got the potting table all cleaned up, and it's ready for the next project. This is the in-ground bed here in the greenhouse, which has spinach and lettuce and bok choy and Swiss chard, and I have pepper plants growing in containers. I have bell peppers and jalapeno peppers. It's a new jalapeno pepper, and parsley growing there. So we have the spring gardening season begun. Thanks for watching.